All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of our still untitled Friday Night Lights podcast. Anthony, have you had any ideas for names yet?
I've been trying to come up with some, really trying to interpolate catchphrases and initials, but I'm not having much luck.
Yeah. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. There's got to be something. FNL. There's got to be something there, but it's either been done or it's not happening. But we'll figure it out. We're gonna figure it out
eventually.
We'll be okay. This isn't going to go very far if we don't have a name, but it'll happen. We're not going to force it.
Yes.
We are meeting up again since watching episodes 3 and 4. Just before we get into the details of it, how would you rate your experience of watching episodes 3 and 4? Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did. I had a very good time. I'm really, really excited to talk about both of these episodes. Yeah, I've got a lot of notes. I'm excited.
Yeah, I feel like things are taking off, getting a little juicy here. So we should have some good conversation on that. So let's get into it. Episode 2 left off. The ball was in the air for the kickoff. Let's talk about the game a little bit. It's not really about the football, as we've said time and time again, but
you can't pigeonhole it.
No. But some stuff happens that we should talk about. So let's talk about the game.
Yes. So the game does not go very well.
No.
Our Dillon Panthers lose.
Yeah, coming down once again, though, to the last play.
Of course.
The game could have changed on the last play. So that is 2 for 2 so far.
Yes. Saracen doesn't play that great. The other team really doesn't seem to play that great. It's just
very low scoring affair.
Yeah, but Dillon just really wasn't connecting, particularly coming down. A lot of the blame for sure coming down on Saracen,
which is, I think, and they make it a point to point out, like, Saracen actually had a pretty decent game. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't his fault solely. He was hitting his receivers and whatnot.
Right,
but.
Yeah, because then the coach kind of at the end, when he gives his "come on, we got to do better" speech, he says to Saracen, right? He's like,
gives him the
Saracen, you had a good game, played well,
and then he lays into everybody.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit, but I feel like this team, was the overwhelming favorite or whatever to win state, or they're supposed to be really, really, really good, and they lose one player, and now.
They're falling apart.
Now the defense isn't even good. I mean, I know having a classmate and a teammate paralyzed can definitely mess you up a little bit, but yeah, they've completely fallen apart. I feel like that doesn't completely track, but it comes down to last play. Saracen makes a real gutsy move. It's a pass play, but he keeps the ball, runs for it.
So close.
It's looking good, and he literally falls up like less than a yard short of the goal line. Doesn't quite make it. So
game of inches. It's a game of inches.
Game of inches. That's right. He almost has his moment, but not quite. But valiant effort. Pretty darn good. All right. So after the game, we see Tim Riggins at home, and his brother Billy is chewing him out for sucking, basically. But the important thing here is that Tim is drinking his first beer of the episode, which brings our beer tally for the episode up to 1, which is 13 total so far. So that's the first thing. After that, Landry is presenting his theory on why the Panthers are losing, and it somehow involves that Saracen's grandma is a witch.
It's a witch, yeah.
Which, if somebody was a witch in town, I would.
It's definitely Grandma Saracen.
Grandma Saracen.
Absolutely.
But my question is, why? Why would Grandma Saracen curse the Panthers when her grandson is QB1? But that's Landry doing Landry things. And then we have a scene that I found painfully awkward.
Street and Lyla, right?
Street and Lyla, yeah. Why don't you describe that scene?
So they're talking, and things get a little intimate, more intimate than they've been since Street has been in the hospital.
Right. They're giving it a shot here.
Street has a moment. Lyla somehow does not figure out what's going on. Like through the entire scene, like that she just is like, something's wet. which is incredible. Like how she didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Beyond me, because even Street's like,
Well, hold on here. Okay, this is hard to talk about because I feel I want to keep this PG, but what do you think happened?
I think he got a little excited.
No, that's not what happened.
Really?
Well, I mean, he got excited, but he didn't get overexcited. Okay, I can't believe we're going into this. Okay. But then the nurse comes in and his catheter came out.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is a bodily fluid. But
yes.
I believe what happened was the Jason having a moment caused the catheter to come out, and yes, so then it was a wet
I did
spot.
not even think of that. Which would make sense because it's a more,
yes,
prone to get things wet, the less viscous liquid.
Are we gonna have to put an explicit rating on our iTunes page? Oh. So anyway, painfully awkward no matter what, whatever bodily fluids are involved. It's not ideal. It's very embarrassing for Jason. And I really feel for the guy. So glad we got that figured out. There is the scene with Coach and Julie. They're heading to the diner.
Yes.
And
the Alamo Freeze.
Is it
one of our friend of the show and sponsor of the show, the Alamo Freeze?
Right. Julie goes and sits down while Coach is ordering, and some jerk of a
absolute
dude
has been.
Yeah. Showing off his championship ring. You're never going to get one of these, Coach, if you keep calling the wrong plays. Basically starts chewing out Julie.
Yeah, starts harassing Coach's daughter, which is a super dick move. And then, Coach confronts him, and he's like, hey, listen, you can talk trash about me all you want, but, let's not get my daughter into it. And the guy is, still acting like he's not in the wrong.
Yeah.
He's still you'll never get one of these. Which holds up his 79 championship ring or whatever it was.
Yeah. Talking about how he's going to get fired, how they're going to have to move, all that. That's the way this town works, honey. All that kind of junk. So, and then interestingly, Coach Taylor then just chooses to leave, which I feel like would not have been my reaction to that happening, but maybe smart, I guess.
Well, especially since it seems as though he had already paid for the food.
Yeah, right.
Which
tell Julie to go wait in the car and still get your largest French fry they have, which is what he ordered. So anyway, it is becoming evident that the pressure is mounting a little bit on Coach. The town is starting to turn against him. Not that they were ever very much on his side. They were very skeptical to begin with, but things are taking kind of an ugly turn.
That one loss really just drove the town. Yeah,
where the star quarterback gets paralyzed, that's Coach's fault somehow, but which we'll find out later. Will be alleged in court that it is Coach's fault. But after this, we hear for the first time about a player named Voodoo Tatum.
Voodoo Tatum.
Ray Voodoo Tatum.
A Katrina refugee. Very timely at the time.
Yep, it was. Yep.
Yeah, he was a Katrina refugee who was in Texas and was apparently just insanely good at quarterback. And
had led his team to the state championship the year before, I believe.
Yep. And several coaches in the area are trying to court him and get him to come to their teams.
Yeah. Buddy Garrity is the leader of the campaign to go out and get Voodoo. I loved his line. He's talking to that older scout guy. I would think his name is Deke. But anyway, Buddy is talking to Deke. He's like, I think we should slide on over there.
There's something about Voodoo Tatum that makes Buddy Garrity into a real creep. I mean, Buddy Garrity is a creep as it is, but there's something about Voodoo that gets him talking really weird. There's another scene in the next episode, which we'll obviously talk about in our next episode.
Yeah.
so we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But it's another ridiculous moment of Buddy Garrity. Just, I don't know what Voodoo Tatum does to him, but it's very strange and creepy.
Yeah, he gets in a one-track mind, and yeah, it gets weird. So that's the first we hear of Voodoo.
I do have written down here, and I don't remember exactly. This is why I started taking more detailed notes with the next episode. That something about Street's mom confronting Riggins. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, I believe she talked to him. She saw him sitting in his pickup, and she went over.
Right. Yes.
Talked to him. And okay, I wanted to talk about this too. I didn't have it written down, but that reminds me. We talked about how the characters in this, the actors in this show are much older than high school age, and Taylor Kitsch was much older than high school age for this show. And I feel like that is part of what makes basically every interaction he has with like older women feel very uncomfortable and weirdly sexual. But I don't know. I think that might just be because he's basically like only 5 to 10 years younger than them in real life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I was like, is there like some weird vibe between these two when they were having that conversation? But no, I mean, it was just a conversation about like, hey, come and visit Jason in the hospital when you're ready, you know? But I think just by the fact that Taylor Kitsch was, what do we say, like mid to upper 20s when he actually... Yeah,
he was, like 25, 26, something like that or something.
Yeah, I think that just changes the vibe a little bit. Compared to like if he was actually a 15-year-old high school kid.
But yeah, so they go and visit Voodoo Tatum and his family, who are living in a hotel at I don't know if did they say where, like what town? Is it like a nearby town?
Buddy Garrity's wife implied that it was 80 minutes to get there because she said you can take an 80-minute drive for the Panthers, but you can't help your daughter or something like that. So
right.
Some town 80 minutes away is what we have. Yep. And they go and try to recruit Voodoo, which Coach has his reservations about, right? Like
very much so, yeah.
Specifically says like if he goes with Matt Saracen, he doesn't have to worry about potential recruitment violations. Mm. So Coach is very conscious of that, which makes me wonder, I wrote this in all caps, if it's so sketchy, why do they go in Dylan Panthers gear? They're all just in their blue and yellow shirts with Dylan Panthers all over.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. But they show up and, what does Coach say? How does he kind of lay it on the line for Voodoo? He kind of basically says, like, nothing's going to be given to you if you want to work for it.
Yeah.
You know, this is the place for you.
So, yeah.
Type thing. But Buddy Garrity, on the other hand,
is just prostituting the entire town of Dillon for the Tatum family.
Absolutely. Yeah. Housing, jobs, everything.
The whole kid caboodle.
Yep. So, so that happens.
And then shortly after that is the argument between Buddy Garrity and his wife, where Lyla's like upstairs and hearing their argument. And I just wrote down during this, and I remember the scene was that, and we kind of talked about this in the last episode, that freaking Lyla Garrity is just the most like high school naive girl of all time.
Yeah. In this this episode is really, I feel like the last episode where that's fully true. I feel like she has a moment here where that turns and she realized like, wow, I was an idiot. So the Garrity household is struggling with Lila's delusions. Kind of everybody sees what's going on except for Lyla. She still believes everything's going to turn out. She still believes that Jason's going to walk, which we'll get to, but Jason calls her out on that finally. But if we back up a little bit, I just wanted to point out a line. There's like a pancake supper or dinner or something that they're doing. It's a fundraiser for Jason. And Mrs. Coach is talking to Mayor Rodell. And Mayor Rodell tells her, The last school counselor killed herself. Yeah, that's right. Pills, I think.
Yeah. I actually have that written down as my quote of the week.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So that'll come back up. I was like, oh, geez. Yeah. Then Tim is not at the pancake supper, and so Tyra goes and finds him. He is out hitting beer cans on the side of the road with a golf
into
club.
like a quarry.
Yeah. That makes sense. I wasn't sure what was going on there, but Tyra confronts him, kind of gets into it.
I counted 2 more beers for Tim Riggins on that one. That I noted that he hit at least 2 more cans. So
there was a spot where you could actually see even more, and I counted 6. I think he had the full 6-pack out there.
I will allow it.
Yeah. So that's 6 more, putting us up to
7 for the episode.
7 for the episode. Yes. I forget where we're at total, but we'll come back to that. Is this where they break up? Do they break up here?
Yes, this is the official Tyra and Riggins breakup.
Yeah, this isn't my quote of the episode, but I did enjoy it when Tim said, "We sure do have something special here, Lyla," as they're basically hating each other. So yeah, they break up on the side of the road. I have in here, I don't remember how it happened, but Lyla invites Tim to a prayer meeting, and my notes on that are just read the room, Lyla. Like, what are you doing? You're inviting Tim Riggins to a prayer meeting for Jason Street, who his best friend, who he hasn't even gone to see yet. So once again, Lila's still being super delusional. And there's also a scene where Tim is struggling in practice, and he walks off the field, which is
and coach, a great coach moment where he's like, "Don't do that. Don't do what I think you're about to do. Don't do what I think you're about to do."
Yes. Yeah, that's a very Coach Taylor way of reacting to that situation. Yep. Buddy makes the offhand remark that this never would have happened in the old days, or something like that. Why is Buddy Garrity on the field during practice to begin with? Talking Coach's ear off about Voodoo, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so yeah, that's when they go and recruit Voodoo. The Garrity household struggling to deal with Lila's delusions is what I have. Okay, then Coach is at home at night. He's watching the news.
There's Smash.
Smash is getting interviewed on the news. I don't even remember exactly what Smash says.
It was relatively innocuous. Like, it was not enough. Like, me watching it, like, I was like, this is a strong reaction from Coach.
Yeah, it wasn't super offensive. It was undermining, you know.
Yeah.
It was undermining to Coach and to the team. But Coach, in a very Coach Taylor calm and collected way, flips out, basically. Not so, and calls the team in for a nighttime practice.
And I have a hard time trying to gauge exactly the timeline of the nighttime practice. I want to get into that a little bit, because like some people are like in bed. Like I think Saracen's like in bed.
Boxers.
Yeah. And like meanwhile, like Smash is like eating a bowl of breakfast cereal.
Yeah. There's another guy eating a burger at the diner.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. At first I felt like it was maybe like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. But yeah, the guy eating a burger at the diner, who's at the diner at 10:30, 11 eating a burger? Yeah. So that doesn't quite line up, but it's late.
And then also I've written down, and I'll just put it, that when Coach gets home, I think like Tammy says like, what time is it? Or she says like, it's 3 a.m. Somebody mentions that it's 3 a.m. by the time that Coach gets home.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, I cannot gauge what time this practice started or how long it went, because
okay, so let's assume that the latest it could have possibly been when he called it. I'm assuming the diner's going to be closed by 11 p.m. Right?
I think
like
that's fair.
So let's say that guy's pushing the limit.
Let's say this. Hold on. Okay. Before we go there.
Yes.
Theoretically, do we know what day of the week it is? It can't be Friday.
Off the top of my head. It's definitely not Friday. Yeah, so it is a school night.
It is a school night, because that's where I was going, because I was thinking maybe there's an all-night diner in Dillon. There's one in Kimball, South Dakota. Why not Dillon, Texas?
Do-wah ditties.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking like, yeah, sure, maybe some kid is there at 11 p.m. Like, maybe he's hungry. It happens. I'm willing to forgive that. So I'm going to say theoretically late night diner, but even with that being said, I'm thinking latest is 11 p.m.
Yep. And he says it's basically like be at the field house in a half hour. So practice, the earliest it could start, or no, I would say the latest it could start would be like 11:30-ish, right? Yeah. And so he doesn't get back till 3 a.m. That implies that they had a 3-hour practice in the middle of the night.
In the rain.
On a school night?
On a school night.
Yeah, I wonder why his wife, the high school guidance counselor, doesn't have more to say.
Right, yeah. She
about that decision as a coach of high school.
All that surprised at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, they are out at a ridiculous hour running wind sprints up a hill in the rain. Somehow, like across a river or like across a creek up a hill.
Yeah, there's this weird, hill thing that we haven't seen before, nor do we ever see again. I'm not sure where exactly it is, although he does bust them all somewhere. So
yeah. He had this scouted and in his back pocket, ready for a midnight practice sometime. But yeah, it's pretty intense. I believe one of the other coaches is like, don't you think they've had enough, coach? I think so. It's not really landing yet. I feel like the point of the practice isn't landing yet. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere along the line, Smash Williams starts the clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose chant. So,
and I get chills.
Right. Okay. And as they're all getting back on the bus, then coach pulls Tim aside and basically says, hey, it's not your fault that Jason's paralyzed. So you gotta let it go, or you gotta give yourself grace, or however he says it in his coach way. Let yourself off the hook, I think is what he says. So pretty important part, I think.
And then is it the same night that Riggins and Lyla meet up?
Because coach says, don't you ever walk out on a practice again. You owe me a practice. Tell you what, you walk home and we'll call it even. So that's right. Riggins is walking home at 3 a.m.-ish, all by himself on the side of the road. Where was Lyla coming from?
I don't know. Yeah.
3 a.m.? We're digging too deep, I feel like.
I've got a lot of theories of what's going on here. Maybe it's not that late. I think Coach has a secret family.
He ended at 11:30. Yeah.
It started at 9 p.m. Saris is just such a square that he was already in bed at 9 p.m.
Yeah, that could be. And I think we should keep an eye out for clues throughout the series to Coach's second family. Yeah, good. But yes, Tim is walking alongside the road. Lyla happens to be driving by. She pulls over. Yeah, why don't you?
Great exchange
of what happens there.
Great exchange between Riggins and Lyla.
Yep.
Lyla goes, "What are you, drunk again?" And Riggins just goes, "Soon enough, Lyla." Soon enough.
Soon enough. Yep, that's one of my quote of the week submissions, or quote of the episode submissions for sure.
And then they kind of get into a shouting match, where they're yelling at each other about this, that, and the other thing. And then all of a sudden, bang.
Yes.
They're hooking up.
The anger emotions suddenly turn to, making out. It's a pretty seamless. Well, yeah, it's a little weird, but we'll
allow it.
Yep. Oh, I would also like to point out, I believe it's during this exchange that Lyla has the line, and I feel like this is a turning point for her. Like kissing Tim is like kind of the turning point where she accepts a little bit what is going on. Oh, because prior to this, we didn't talk about it, but Jason basically kicks her out of the hospital.
Oh, yes. I did write down street gets real on Lyla, where he finally is like, I'm not going to get better. I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to play football again. We are not going to get married.
Yep.
And
get out.
Yeah.
Basically. Like kind of the thing where like the classic scene where you pull alongside the road and kick the dog out of the vehicle, like, go on, get out of here, leave it.
And I guess hypothetically, in a arguably more realistic scene, maybe that's where Lyla was coming from at 2 a.m, because she does mention to Riggins, I think in this very episode, that she's like visiting hours are over at 6, but I got the whole place under my spell or whatever.
Yep, you're right. Yeah. So I guess, yeah.
She could stay as late as she wanted at the hospital, and
yep, that's
why
true.
wouldn't she stay until 2 a.m? That's her boyfriend who she's going to marry, and
everything's going to be fine.
Yes.
And she says to Tim, I thought God would do me a favor because I'm such a good girl. How stupid is that? So in still a very cheesy high school girl way, I feel like she is realizing her naivety.
Yes.
In that. So this is kind of a turning point for her. In my notes I have for a music cue, there was some Pearl Jam sounding song.
Yeah, Come Back by Pearl Jam. It's a banger.
Okay, it was Pearl Jam. I was trying to ID it on my phone with Google Assistant or whatever. What song am I listening to? And it kept coming up as Let It Go by Idina Menzel from the Frozen soundtrack. So I was like, my phone is like has been overloaded by the...
It's time to grow up and get an iPhone like the rest of us.
Oh. Not gonna happen. Was that Manute Bowl?
Yeah, it's Muggsy and Manute, man.
Oh, nice. Why?
That's just, I think it's a cool picture. It's a nice background.
Yeah.
I like.
All right. Well,
I don't have any kids or anything to put on my cell phone background, so I put something that brightens my day in other ways.
I have one of my sons on my phone background, and that's just John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja, Jaren, and Benaiah, my sons. So Pearl Jam, Not Let It Go. Jason leaves the hospital for rehab. Lyla shows up late, and she is obviously feeling very guilty, or at least has accepted reality. I feel either she's feeling, or it's probably both, feeling guilty for kissing Tim. But then also, like, she made a big deal out of this rehab that this is where it was all going to turn around. But now that he's actually going there and she's had this revelation, I feel like it's evident on her face that she understands the gravity of what's going on now. All right, so then kind of as the episode is ending, I believe, Voodoo joins the team.
Yes.
And, we kind of get this after the midnight late night practice. Really seems like the team has turned a corner and is starting to gel a little bit. And then Voodoo shows up, and but yeah, he's got an attitude. It's very obvious right off the bat that he's gonna upset some things.
Yeah, like you said, right as the team started to gel, he comes through to just create chaos again, worse probably than even before.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the deleted scene with this episode. This was bizarre. I want to know if this is a real thing that happens in Texas for high school football. So Coach, they show Coach like getting all, he's like in a tie and stuff. And I don't think this can be quote of the episode because it's in a deleted scene, but he's sitting at the counter. He's in a suit and tie. And Tammy says, "You do look good, though. You're going to impress the hell out of those rabid dogs before they tear you limb from limb." Coach says, "That's being a little dramatic, though, don't you think?" And then Tammy responds, "So was the crucifixion of Christ, baby."
Wow.
Really escalating things here.
Mrs. Coach.
Yeah.
What's going there?
But then they have him, they cut to him at it's basically like a public film session and forum where they're showing the highlights from the game on a screen, and half the town is there, and they're criticizing Coach's calls, and Coach is explaining well, here's why I made the call I did on that, and they're just ripping into him.
Wow.
It's is that a thing?
That's insane.
Have, public forum film sessions?
Wow. Now I'm kind of really bummed that they didn't keep that in the episode 1, and 2, dive deeper into that if that is a thing, because that's a crazy aspect that I would like to see.
What
any
the heck? Yeah. I mean, I could maybe see if you like had to meet with the athletic director of the high school or something, but not the general public.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, there's like a mom there that's like chewing him out and saying he's going to get her kid hurt and stuff. Like, it must be a thing, but
I guess, yeah.
That's bizarre.
I have to look more deeply into that.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to dig into characters a little bit now?
Yeah, let's dig into the characters.
Do you want to go? Do you still want to go like down the list, or do you just kind of want to popcorn around?
Let's popcorn around a little bit.
Okay.
I'm really not liking Lyla. Like more than I even way more than I expected. I thought that I really liked the Lyla character.
Yeah.
And now I'm not so sure that I did. I really don't like her. Yeah, her writing, she's just so like over the top naive.
Yeah. I do feel like she is does very much encapsulate an aspect of small town
Right.
life and idealism and stuff like that, you know?
Right. I should rephrase because she's written really well. I shouldn't say that her writing is bad because her writing is good, but I do not like her as a character because of how like extremely naive she is, but it is very realistic.
Yeah. I feel like they really had to go over the top and above and beyond to set her up with all these idealistic notions to then just, and we've said it before, but then just slam her down continuously over and over again.
Like you said, she takes a lot of L's.
She takes some L's. Lyla takes a lot of L's. And we're starting to get, the one good thing about Lyla in this episode is that she does start to turn the corner a little bit, and come to grips,
I am really excited to see her evolve a little bit and grow as the series progresses.
Yeah, for sure. And we get a little picture of the Garrities in a little more in depth as well. We get that interaction between Buddy and Buddy's wife, worrying about Lyla. So, good to dig into the Garrity household a little more.
Buddy Garrity, what a guy!
All right, so who else as a character struck you or you thought was interesting this episode?
Yeah, Street struck me. He's kind of coming into his own as a character and really accepting his fate.
Yeah.
Which is good. It makes me like him a little more. And in the next episode, I'm excited to watch him grow a little bit more and move in with Herc.
Mm-hmm.
And their dynamic, however politically incorrect it may be.
Woof.
But we'll get to that in the next episode.
Yes.
Coach is growing into the coach that we know and love.
Yep. Yeah, he's pulling these moves out of his back pocket, get out of the box and do some crazy stuff to inspire his team. And
Mrs. Coach as the guidance counselor, because there's a scene with her and Saracen. That's in this episode, right?
Yep, it is.
Where Saracen kind of is like, oh yeah, I live with my grandma. She's got dementia. My dad's in Iraq. Like, he's got a lot on his plate, I think is what Tammy even says. Yeah. Right. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And so then she's talking to Coach and she said, do you understand how stressful my job is? Like to actually sit down and have a real conversation with these kids that goes beyond like where you're supposed to go on the field in the next 30 seconds and where to carry the ball to and stuff like that, which then actually like feels kind of jerkish and Coach doesn't really receive it. But then after his interaction with Tim a little bit, he goes back to Tammy and says, yep, you're right. So Tammy is making an impact on Coach. I think that he needs to connect with his players on more than just an on the field level.
Mm-hmm.
So Tammy is already doing good stuff for Coach Taylor and the Panthers indirectly, even though Coach was worried that she would be a nuisance as the guidance counselor, and which she will be. But yeah, Tammy's getting a little more coming into her own. That's good. Tim Riggins is basically still doing Tim Riggins stuff.
Yep.
Like,
we love to see it.
Closed off, drinking beer, being a jerk to Tyra. Like, it's just all there.
Classic Riggins stuff.
Classic Tim. And we love him. Not necessarily for all the classic Tim stuff, but
we love him despite his flaws.
Yep, absolutely.
So we don't get much of Julie in this episode, which I feel like maybe some of our listeners, if there are any, who are maybe watching the show for the first time or haven't watched it yet, may be confused about the Julie.
Are you hating on Julie?
Julie hate-o-meter. If you stick with the show and you stick with us, you'll understand.
You'll get it.
I promise.
Yeah, it'll become clear. But yeah, not a lot of Julie. The only thing that I saw in this episode was this. Maybe I should leave this for the hate-o-meter, but maybe let's just address the hate-o-meter now since we're talking about Julie. The only reason that I knocked her any points, and this is pretty lame, but they're at the pancake dinner, and Saracen comes over and he's like, "I got you soy sausage or something like that," and then she makes some other comment about, "Let's go get a turkey burger." Like that's just annoying. I don't know. If you won't eat beef,
move.
but you will eat turkey.
Yeah.
I don't. Anyway. So for that reason, I gave her a 1 on the hate-o-meter.
I agree with that. Yeah,
slightly annoying.
Not enough with the context that we would have had on our first watch 3 episodes in.
Yeah,
you're maybe 1 at most. So I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you there.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Buddy Garrity in this episode, as we already kind of have a little bit. Just a total creep, like really. Creaming his jeans over Voodoo Tatum in a real weird way.
Like hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he loves, I'll give it up to Buddy Garrity. He loves this team. Like, I know that he's a used car salesman by trade, but like, it's really seems like the Dillon Panthers is all he has. Like, it is his livelihood.
He doesn't seem to, and as his wife points out, he doesn't really seem to care about Lyla all that much. His family doesn't play a very big role.
When they're not on screen together, I sometimes forget that they're father and daughter. Like, I forget that they're from the same family.
Yes. Voodoo Tatum becomes Buddy's son in this.
Yes, yeah, for real.
Yeah, he's providing him shelter. He's helping him put food on the table.
Get his dad get a job.
Yeah. So we could just move right into the Sleazeball move of the week for Buddy Garrity. I have a very specific thing that's in line with all of that. But my Buddy Garrity Sleazeball move of the week was how he basically turned the whole Voodoo Tatum thing into this like caring for a Katrina refugee charity mission, basically like trying to make it out to be like, we need to do this kid a favor and take care of him and his family. So yeah, really exploiting the whole Katrina aspect of his story.
I'm with you 100% on that. That is absolutely the Buddy Garrity Sleazeball move of the week, who is acting like he cares about this kid at all outside of football. If this kid wasn't a football player, Buddy Garrity would not look twice at him.
Buddy, you're not fooling anyone either. Like, it would be okay for you to just say, like, we need to go get this kid so we can win games. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
The Katrina charity thing. So. That's Buddy Garrity for you. So Coach Taylor, the Inspo-Rating, Coach Taylor Inspo-Rating of the week. Give me your thoughts.
I'm in kind of the same boat as I was with the last episode, where you don't want to give him a 10 because you know what he's going to do. But man, the wind sprints thing is solid.
It's a good move.
There's some great moments in there. I'm gonna go with a light 8.
Okay.
And that's only under the secret family presumption, taken away from the 10. Because I believe Coach Taylor has a secret family.
He's getting docked for the presumed
for my fan theory.
Yes. Until it's proven that he does not have a secret family, he will continually be docked.
Yes. By the end of the series, we're just like -5. Yeah, he did a lot this episode, but that secret family's really weighing on me. You can see it in his eyes.
Bumming me out. I have a little bit different take on this.
Sure.
So I do think the midnight practice thing, it was good, but I think it was maybe a little like anger inspired and a little vindictive almost.
I'll agree with that. It was definitely for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So for that reason, I don't give him as much credit. It still turned out really good. It was still a good coach move. But I don't.
But accidentally.
Yep. And then I also want to point out that Smash starts the Clear Eyes Full Hearts chant that really like turns the tide of the practice, which, maybe coach is just like, a master strategist. And, that was what he hoped, that the team would come together in that moment where he's just like running the heck out of them and stuff like that. But I think Smash gets more of the credit than
I'll agree with that.
Than coach on that. But
I'd like to take a peek inside Coach Taylor's head,
right, from
the guilt that he would have felt from Smash himself starting that chant, on top of the guilt that he already feels for having a secret family.
Oh man, I wasn't taking the secret family into account on my rating. I will give him credit though, that little heart to heart with Tim Riggins getting on the bus. That was good. And I think Tammy gets some of the credit for that. Like I said, kind of her comments about, connecting with the players more than just as football players. But, so I gave him just a middle of the road 5. The team was inspired, but I think I don't know that I give coach all the credit for that. So
That's
it's
fair.
a 5. If we want to take a couple off for the secret family, it's probably a 3, but,
Wow.
But yeah, I'll go with 5. So you said
Okay.
a soft 8. I have 5. I think it's
We'll meet in the middle by like a high 6, strong 6.
a strong 6. That sounds good to me. The Big Rig beer tally, as we said, he had one early in the episode, and then when he is hitting cans with the golf club, I counted 6. So that is a total of 7 for the episode, which puts us at a total for the season at 19. He has already consumed 19 beers in
good.
3 episodes. So that's where we're at with the beer tally. Music cue of the week.
I got to go with the Pearl Jam song, the Come Back by Pearl Jam. Very solid.
Yep, that worked well. Let It Go also would have been a good choice, but yeah, Pearl Jam was good. What was the name of the song again?
Come Back.
Come Back by Pearl Jam.
From the album that came out that very year, 2006, the self-titled album, the eponymous album.
Oh. I didn't realize that Pearl Jam was still making music.
Oh, yeah, dude. They released an album last year.
Nice.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
I never really have been into Pearl Jam. The most I ever did was Eddie Vedder on the Into the Wild song.
yeah, that's a top 50 album from. That's for me. That's the best Pearl Jam album is the
Right.
Eddie Vedder solo album. But
Yeah.
there, you should really listen to 10. It still holds up to this.
Yeah, I have listened to that. Like that is, I definitely acknowledge that that's good. I just never got super.
10 Verses and Vitology, like those first 3 albums are really good, and then they got kind of into like Dave Matthews territory where like they got like a real like live band notoriety, kind of thing where they've got like people who are
stuff like that.
Really, I don't think they jam in the same way, but like you've got those people who are like, oh, I'm really into Pearl Jam, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I unironically purchased, but now I kind of own and never. I probably haven't listened to it in like 10 years. But I own a like 7-disc Pearl Jam Live at the Gorge box set on CD.
Wow. 7 discs of one concert?
It's 3 separate concerts that they did at the Gorge. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's a marathon of a concert, but yeah, nice. Yeah, it fit well with the scene that it was played over, so that was good. All right, I think that brings us to quote of the episode. I have several submissions for this. I've got 3, so
Okay.
I don't know if you want to alternate.
Yeah, I've got 2, and I think my 2 are both on your list.
Probably covered, yeah.
Yeah, so
why don't you start us off then?
I'll start with the what are you drunk again? Soon enough, Lyla. Soon enough.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect Tim line for sure. I have one we haven't talked about yet. This is after the hard late night practice. I believe it's in practice the next day. And Coach Mack says, "Never underestimate the power of a good spanking, Coach." And Coach responds, "Yes, sir." Like, that's how he says it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, never underestimate the power of a good spanking.
And then of course my choice for quote of the week was the mayor telling Mrs. Coach, "You know, the last guidance counselor killed herself."
Pills, I think.
Pills, I think, yes.
Yeah, that was good. Looking at it here, my third one I already said, and it was the deleted scene. So this is an unofficial submission, but you do look good, though. You're going to impress the hell out of those rabid dogs before they tear you limb from limb. That's being a little dramatic, though, don't you think? So was the crucifixion of Christ, baby. Too far, Tammy.
Tammy, you didn't have to get blasphemous with us.
Take it easy. I feel like we go with "What Are You Drunk Again?" because we both had it.
I'm good with that.
So, yep. All right. So that was episode 3, which was entitled "Wind Sprints." I don't think
Wind Sprints. Yes.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on the episode or how things are progressing so far? I like I said, I do feel like we're really getting into the meat of things here now. Yeah,
things are really starting to ramp up. I know in the next episode they definitely ramp up. Which I'm excited for things to really, get going. But no, it's a good, solid episode. I don't know what I would rank it on a 1 to 10 scale. It's, more or less a filler episode. There's not a whole lot important that happens, but
yep.
As far as the show goes, it's, a strong 6, light 7, I think, out of 10.
Yeah, I would personally go with a 7, I believe. I thought it was pretty good. I am I keep coming back to this, but I like the Lyla turn. I think that's important.
It's good for her character for sure.
Yeah. So I'll go with a 7. So, all right. Well, episode 3. It's we're rolling now.
Still don't have a title, but we're going.
Yeah, thanks for for sticking with us so far. So we'll get into episode 4 next.
Yes.
Let's touch God this time, boys. Let's touch God.